Hello. Where were you on January 1st, 1987?
If you were me, you were not around yet. You wouldn't be around for yet over a decade. But if you were around, say you were a little child or grown adult, something was created in your lifetime that became a staple. That character was born that was so recognizable and so intriguing, so mysterious too. Just a simple man wearing a simple outfit, carrying a simple cane. Because on January 1st, 1987, Martin Hanford released his very famous book called Where's Waldo? Or at the time it was called Where's Wally? Waldo was a bit of a touristy character, a bit of an afterthought, as Martin Hanford planned it, just a bit of a tie between all the 12 images, which allows the viewer to not only look for the guy, but also take longer exploring the page, exploring all the characters. Martin Hanford Where's Wally was not his first detailed artwork. He is very famously known for all his artworks, the ones that depict a very busy, bustling atmosphere, a image with an insane amount of detail. This art firm, which you refer to as Wimmelbilder, I may be butchering it, but it comes from a German word Wimmelbilderbach, which literally translates to teeming picture books. Martin Hanford was a master of his craft, and he still is. He has created many illustrations for magazines and newspapers that have reached out and asked him for some, even famously creating a album cover art for the band The Vapors for their album Magnets, which depicts an assassination of a president. Now, it really brought Martin Hanford artwork into the big scene, skyrocketing him to stardom, was his book Where's Waldo, which stayed on the charts of best-selling books for 93 weeks at the time of its release. Wally originally came from the name Walter or Wallace, which was not only a name but also a way in the old days to describe somebody who's a bit of an airhead, somebody who's not missed a lot of things, which is why he's always getting lost. Waldo or Wally starts off his journey in each picture by sending us a postcard, because he famously brings with him many different items such as a key, walking stick, kettle, mallet, cup, backpack, sleeping bag, binoculars, camera, snorkel, belt. Often he will lose one or a couple items in an image, and the viewer will be tasked with finding it. Now, Waldo also has many friends with him. He has Wilma, who is his friend, Wenda, who is Wilma's twin sister in the 1987 version, Odla, which is Waldo's arch nemesis, Wolf, which is Waldo's dog and later becomes Wenda's dog, Wizard Whitebeard, and then there's also a section of Wally Watchers, which are Waldo fans that make it into the books. Now, there's also something called the Land of Waldos, and I want you to keep this in mind because I might bring this up a bit later. Now, I can't get into the full history of Where's Waldo here today as much as I want to, and I might do it in another time because I would like to get to the main point of this video. But if you do want a more comprehensive dive into this art form, into more of the Waldo history, I implore you to watch Where's Waldo Legacy by Solar Sands, which did an amazing 15-minute dive through kind of the evolution of the art form, including going all the way back to Bosch. And if you would like to explore more of this art form just on your own and see what everyday people have done, I recommend a Reddit called r/Wimmelbilder. Where's Waldo got spun off into a TV show and even inspired a horror game called Let's Find Larry, which consists of a character going missing, us trying to find them, there's paranoia, shadowy figures, the whole deal. I stumbled upon this video, and this is clearly where I stumbled into something that has been going on for a while, and I got intrigued. The pixel animations and the kind of game-like setting made me think, is this an actual game or is this something that's being created by somebody? And so I went to explore more. So I ended up on the channel of Lumpy, an extremely talented pixel animator. He's done some different series, but I was very interested in Where's Waldo. I was interested in finding what's going on. I went back to square one, and I will take you along with me as we go through the, at the time of recording, 15 videos that have been posted in this Where's Waldo series. I want to talk theories, I want to talk about stuff that I found, but if you guys find absolutely anything in these videos that I have not, please let me know down in the comments. Now, this is a major spoiler warning for this whole series because I'll be talking through every video that I have watched, which is at the time of recording, as I said, 15 videos. Now, let's get started with the first video. Now the first video is definitely an exposition. We learn about what's going on with the character. We learn that we play as a detective and that there are already a couple murders happening and have happened. Now don't let the upbeat music and the fun environment of characters just moving in two different positions trick you. This story gets dark. Now, if you just took your time to find Waldo in these 5 seconds that were given and you found him, congratulations. Did you find the 2 dead bodies? Did you, detective? There's a white sheet covering definitely a bloody scene. And I want to put your attention to a bloody cane that is left near the scene. So it either belonged to the victim or our Waldo, who is carrying yet another cane. So does he just have them as disposable? Like, does he use them as straws? Just beat somebody to death and leave them? We don't know. Let's keep that in mind. Now, the second body I had a lot of trouble finding, especially through my first couple watches. Especially because this was the first video I saw. I didn't know how to look for these details yet. But if you look down in the green train cabin, you will see yet another bloody figure dressed in green, which camouflages almost perfectly if it isn't for all the bloodshed. And I believe that is why the Waldo's kill count went up too. But we already found out he killed 7 people. So there's clearly a backstory to all of this. Now the second video is a very, very different story. I've actually been writing down the things that I found from each video, and as you can see, video number 2 is pretty hefty. But it's more like minor details, nothing too crazy. Well, besides the other 2 dead bodies. No, Waldo is not that hard to spot. He's just in a corner walking along the green grass in the park. But if you look above, and if you watch the whole video, that is where we get the first inkling that he gives us the clue of where the first dead body is. And that is in the mailbox, and that is our fellow predecessing detective. However, there's also a dead guy on the road. If you look down at the bottom of your screen, and then as you can see on the trucks, we get shown what the product they're carrying. So there's some purple perfumes, green perfumes, some deer stuff, and a Playboy truck. Yep, you heard me right. The green truck on the bottom, that is a Playboy sign. And now if you look a little closer as well to the image, even closer to Waldo, you will see 2 officers which arrested seemingly a prisoner, but a very similar color pattern to Waldo, but except it's black and white, which makes me think that he's just a runaway prisoner that they caught. There's also a guy in the manhole, which we're not sure if he's fixing something or he's trying to get himself out, whether he just fell in. and a guy just randomly running on the road. I mean, I guess that's one way of motivating yourself to run. Similar to another guy in the manhole, we also have somebody in the manhole, which we're not sure who. All we see is a pair of black eyes, which happened right outside of the crash. We find later on that only Waldo's eyes glow in the dark. However, they're not typically red, but you never know. Moving on to the next. Now this new scene, the stakes are higher. They're a lot higher because Waldo has now hidden 4 bombs in this beautiful, beautiful campground scene. Or is it a beautiful, beautiful campground scene? You found Waldo? Congratulations. Do you find all the other weird stuff going on in the image? I found some. Now, besides the 4 bombs that you need to defuse, which you find out only later, which Waldo will let us know about later, but I will let you about it now. There's one on the cabin, there's one on the trailer, there's one on seemingly like a sleeping bag of sorts, and there's one on a deer truck. Not a Playboy truck, because it actually looks like a deer truck this time. However, if you look closely, it's a bit of a wild camp. Something out of imagination. There's unicorns running around. There's grown people pretending to be cats and dogs. Not sure if that's really related to anything, if they're just playing with their kids, but... And then you can also see some fallen trees on the road, which, now that we know that Waldo hid bombs, kind of shows that he wanted to affect as many people as possible. Now, we no longer get his kill count. We can know that for sure his kill count now is 11. Besides the unicorns, did you find another folk-like creature? Because it looks like there's multiple tree monsters trying to eat the kids and the adults around the campsite. So you can see there's one guy scaring the living... There's one monster scaring the living crap by the guy by the cabin and one by the road. Which, where'd they come from, where'd they go? Now we see some axes lying around near the fallen trees. So now this, being Canadian, this is probably the most dangerous thing on this whole image. And that there's a moose just in the middle of the campground with many people, and there's a child trying to pet the moose. Now, mooses, that's what I'm calling them. Mooses are very dangerous creatures. The sheer size of them, the sheer way they're built, makes them a killing machine if they want to attack you, if they feel threatened, or if you hit them with a car. There's a famous saying of you might survive hitting a deer, but you will not survive hitting a moose. So the moose in the middle of the campground was definitely the most jarring, the most dangerous part. Now the fourth scene takes place in a city park. So, you know, Waldo is definitely being a tourist, you know, he's going all the nice, popular places. Did you find Waldo in a lot of time? Good job. Congratulations. I am very proud of you. Did you catch his doppelganger? There is a second character that's just very similar to Waldo, but yet not recognized as a second Waldo. And I'm not really sure why, because the next videos we'll find out more about this Waldo phenomenon. Now this scene is also pretty action-packed. We have yet another prisoner being arrested once again very close to Waldo. We have another guy walking down in the drain and walking down in the manhole. So there's a lot of construction going around here, you know. I'll be honest, this seems pretty similar to the scene of the second video. Now that I'm looking even closer at it, because we have the same white cane on the ground as from the previous video. We have yet another mailbox that's positioned pretty similarly. It's not bloody, but it's positioned pretty similarly. So I'm not sure if this is just a zoomed in version, but now that you look closer at it, for example, the lamppost, it no longer resembles Waldo. It's just an orange lamppost. So what's about that? Now, we also notice there's a lot more security, a lot more police officers walking around. We see some at the top of the screen doing some searching. We see some at the bottom patrolling the park. We see some arresting the prisoners. So is this related to all of the serial murders from Waldo, or is it just because there's a constant prison break going on? Now there's also a robbery going on at the top of the screen, which is pretty close to where a police officer is doing a little bit of searching. So now, so if you look a little bit closer, I saved the best for last. There's looks like to be some white patches with letters sprinkled all over the scene, and if we go and look at them from the top down, we see the letters POINTLESS. Pointless. He's telling us all of our efforts are pointless, which he also says later in the letter, which when we try to tranquilize him and just take him, it doesn't work. We have a bit of a Matrix moment where he stops our bullet, drops it on the ground, and then leaves a letter for us saying that, good try, but don't embarrass yourself. All that you do is pointless. Now somebody pointed out in the comments that the Waldo signature looks a bit like a 2. Does it foreshadow anything? Does it bring us back to the doppelganger over here? Let's watch the next video. Video 5 takes us to the fairgrounds. A very fun time for all family, except a couple characters. Now, the fair is supposed to be a good, fun time for a family to go out, enjoy the sunshine, and eat all the crappy food that's put out in the food trucks. But something's been going wrong in these fairgrounds, such as straight up in the middle of the screen, we see yet another dead body with a white sheet on it. Now, this guy in the middle is not the only one having a poor time. There's a drowning man in the lake and a drowned man in the lake. Now, Waldo is, if you found Waldo in the first place, you see that he is very nearby these two deaths. So if the fact that he didn't save them makes him very complicit in it. Now, we can't say he drowned them, but once again, we can be very suspicious of him. We have so far 2 dead people on the grounds. That's not all. That's not all the injured parties. If we take a peek over at the tent, we can see that there's a lot of blood spatter and yet more glowing eyes. So, is this another Waldo? Is this just 2 lights hanging by? Once again, as I said before, we know that Waldo's eyes light up, and this is something that Lumpy said himself in another video that he made, talking about some Easter eggs in a video that's going to come later. So, is this yet another Waldo? Because if you look down and follow the fence, you'll find a second Waldo. Is it another doppelganger? We don't know. Now we also see some clowns walking about the fairs and scaring the crap out of everybody. Or making everybody laugh. We're not really sure. Now, we can also spot a very familiar figure. Right around the bottom of the picture right there. It looks like we got a little short white character with a nice blue jacket on, which is very resemblant of Sans from Undertale. You can also see what looks like a very official looking character wearing black pants and a purple shirt. Did we just see purple guy? Is this purple guy? Now, with this fun little scary revelation that there are now multiple Waldos, we want to move on to video 6, but before we do, I want to remind you of the Land of Waldos, just as a fun little gag. Is it a fun little gag, or is there actually something going on? Is the Land of Waldos real in this universe? Are they all clones of each other? Do they all come from the same land? You know, or are they all, each of them, you know, little evil Land of Waldos where they get to come in and kill a couple people on this realm and then leave? We do know that they're paranormal. But moving on to video 6. Video 6 changes pace completely. It is no longer find Waldo first and then listen to him taunt us. It is an action scene. They leave the detective for dead. Whether he'll live, he'll die, they don't care. But they do leave a message for us, the actual detective. The reason I refer to the character as a detective is because we meet him later on. But we're left with an even more scarier realization. There are now 4 Waldos. There were 2, there are now 4. Are there 4? And that is when a theory popped up. What if Waldos are the victims? What if these extra Waldos are the victims of the original Waldo? What if each character that he murdered later becomes a Waldo, burdened and cursed with continuing the murderous task? Because so far we can attribute at least a few deaths to him. We know that he has a kill count of at least 11. And video 7 takes us to a beach boardwalk. And that is where Lumpy had some fun. There's a lot of very obvious Easter eggs for us to look out for, and some not as obvious Easter eggs to look out for. So let's go a couple through the ones that I found. Very recognizable faces, such as Peter Griffin, the dog from Blue's Clues. Very nice cameos, you know? Very fun things to look out for. But it's not all sunshines and rainbows in this image either, as the other ones. But you can see 2 active shark attacks happening, which will make sense because there's definitely a lot of people bothering them in their home right now. Now also, if you look a little bit closer through the windows, we can see that there's 2 very jolly smiles looking at us. We're kind of right by where the Yoshi is. which we will later find out in the behind the scenes video, are clowns. Terrifyingly large amount of clowns. Now the official Waldos in this image are the one lying on the beach towel, and then there's a nice cute little Waldo hiding in a pink tube in the water with only his hat sticking out to give us any clue about his identity. And now there's also a fourth Waldo. Nowhere really that visible, and there's only one clue about his identity, and that he is somewhere around here. It's his glowing eyes in the sewer. So now there are 4 Waldos hiding in this one image, and yet Waldo asks us if we have any backup. He is a bit of a bastard. This was all the Easter eggs that I have found in this video. If you guys find any more, please let me know. Now the restaurant is one of our last levels where it's still more lighthearted. It gets a lot more darker from here on out. The name on the restaurant, we find out, is called Fine dei Tempi. It's Fine dei Tempi, which is Italian for end of time. Is this a foreshadow to what's gonna come? Is this an end of time for us with the Waldo? There's something's about to end, and we need to find out what it is. We see multiple waiters on the ground. They might have tripped, or this might be a seizure as they're shaking and looks like there's foam coming out. There's a couple more cameos that happen with the very famous Herobrine from Minecraft and the OG Roblox characters, you know, breaking it down on the dance floor. Now, you might also be able to spot some of our buddies from our previous video. As we found out before, there are 10 feet monstrous clowns all around this world, and in this picture there are precisely 3 of them, one of them peeking out the window, and there's also one peeking out from near the kitchen doors, which surprisingly have blood dripping out from the bottom of it. Now, this restaurant is once again not one that really cares for hygiene, with cats and dogs just running rampant. Now, once again, these were all the details that I was able to spot, and I am as observant as a blind cat. But clearly this scene holds a lot more. Now, this is just the Fine Waldo portion. The dialogue is where a lot of things start to break down. And once again, he is a very self-righteous ass. I have to say, the guy's a douchebag. He's annoying. However, he is not without his sense of humor. And with Waldo eating a bloody steak, he decides that, you know, humans may not want to have it. And he gives us very nicely alphabet soup, which has the word enemy floating around in it. But, you know, to each his own. However much of a douchebag I think Waldo is, he decides to entertain either himself or us. So let's just ask him 3 questions. And that is where the video cuts. Presumably so that the comments can thrust in their own questions and give good suggestions. I'm not sure if Lumpy already planned out all the answers beforehand, the questions and answers beforehand. But I definitely had a good chuckle going through all the comments with the very famous of, have you worn wigs?
No, I have not.
Will you wear wigs?
Maybe.
When will you wear wigs? Which I think is a very important question for Waldo. Does he wear wigs? Because that hair seems pretty luscious. Now, if you guys want to have a good chuckle, go ahead and read the comments under video 8. Now, the next part is called Stage 9, the interview. This is where we get to ask 3 questions to Waldo. He's basically playing vigilante. He's eliminating cancers. Eliminating cancers, as he says. He's playing the biggest morality experiment and trying to play his part in something grandiose. Now, after getting an answer to at least some of his motivations, which doesn't answer a whole lot for us, we still left a lot more questions. What is this something that is more grandiose? Why did those people deserve to die? Because we don't know about any of the victims. We don't know who they are, what they've done. All we know is that they were left a bloody mess. The detective asks Waldo, "Where's Waldo?" To which it was a very, very unexpected reaction. Waldo breaks out in a sweat. Not something you would expect from this psychopathic, paranormal serial killer, but also not something you expect to a simple question of where is Waldo? The reason I mentioned the 5 W's is because there are 5 questions to help establish something. It is where, what, when, why, and who. 5 W's, 5 Waldos. We already know there's a where's a Waldo. And now Waldo seems so shocked and he said, "That's me." So is there a why Waldo? And why is Waldo? Which will actually kind of correlate to why is he doing this, which is why he didn't get a good answer, because this wasn't when's Waldo. This was where's Waldo? Is there a what's Waldo? A question that we really need answered. Is there a who's Waldo or when's Waldo? Because clearly this guy seems to be breaking parameters of time, or just at least the linear dimensions, really. But in a very dark twist, Waldo asks us a question, which is fair. We asked him 3, he deserves to ask 1. Who were you supposed to have dinner with today? When that question was asked, personally, when I first saw it, chills ran down my back. Something that shows that Waldo really does know us. Video 11 resembles a very popular game that I have referenced a little bit earlier called Five Nights at Freddy's. This is home security cameras, which depict 3 Waldos, not 4, 3. And we know that they're not there for just a cup of tea. The video cuts there and takes us straight into the next video, which is a reference to yet another like older games where it's a third-person car racing game. The next video takes us straight into a time skip. This is 3 years ahead. Right here, something interesting happens. Do you remember the characters I mentioned earlier? Kind of when giving the Waldo's backstory. There was Wilma, Wenda, Oddlaw, Wolf, and Wizard Whitebeard. Now when we enter video 13, something really interesting happens. For when the camera pans down, we see the name of the wife. Wenda Waldini. I don't know about you, but that seems pretty suspicious. Not only the fact that the name is Wenda, the name of Wally's friend, but Waldini. The last name is Waldini. Waldini? Waldo? Something really interesting is happening here. Now, Waldini is not just a random last name in the world, and the fact that it's similar to Waldo is also not a coincidence. A quick Google search didn't lend me too much, but it showed me that it was referenced as the name of Mama Waldini, Waldo's mother, which make Waldo Waldini. There's a reason Waldo knows us so well. That would mean that we are in fact also have the last name Waldini. Now Waldo doesn't have any siblings that we know of, and we have only always seen 4 Waldos, but Waldo himself told us we are 5. Are we a Waldo? Are we the 5th Waldo that is roaming this world? But if we are, why is Waldo trying to kill our wife? But if in case Wenda never took our last name, and we were always having 2 different last names, that would mean that Wenda was Waldini, means she was most likely Waldo's sister, at least in this headcanon. Why did he kill his own sister? Why is he playing with his own family so much? What grudge does he have against his brother-in-law to the point where he will go and kill his own sister? Why not kill us? Why make us suffer by killing his own flesh and blood? I think unless we find out more, this is all that we have left to go with. That detective is either the 5th Waldo or is Waldo's brother-in-law, which once again does not clear any of his motivations. They're as clear as mud. In either way, well, the detective declines, and that is when our prospective employer notices that a child is gone. Which is another very heart-dropping moment when you're reading about it. You're like, what? Where did the child go? And this becomes yet another game of Find Waldo. Now this one had a lot of things that I have noticed. So I will try and go through them as quickly as possible. Oh, we also know that Waldo can see the future, which is why he was able to predict him walking out of the restaurant and harm of him just walking out of the restaurant. Now, in this pretty morbid cemetery funeral scene, we see a black cat monster just sitting on the road. We see a black cat crossing the road and scaring the crap out of some guy. We see a UFO, a clown in the corner of the screen, a squishmallow monster down the bottom of the screen, and some guy just chilling down there. We see a Dracula popping out of his coffin and dealing with a police officer that ended up opening the coffin. We see Baldy from Baldy's Basics just chilling in the middle of the road. Garfield and Odie both make an appearance also in the middle of the road. We see a purple car at the bottom of the screen. Purple guy? Now we also see a guy just pretty like grim looking guy wheeling a wheelbarrow in the middle of a graveyard, which is always really weird and scary. We see a lady in red just chilling. Is this a statue on top of a gravestone? Is this La Llorona? We will not know. We see red eyes in a tomb, which only means that the adventure is not over for anybody standing by near it, or if anybody tries to use any magic down there. We also see yet another reference to Undertale. I told you there'll be more. If you look in the middle left of the screen, we can see what looks like Stan's brother Papyrus and Frisk going at it. They're either fighting or dancing or something's happening, but the characters do really resemble those from Undertale. Overall, pretty eventful day at the cemetery, I will say. So with this scene, with us finding June here, we can relax. We can go home and we can move on with our life, right? The detective can slowly start patching his life together, taking care of his son. Maybe it's finally time to heal. Nope, it's not. Because right in the next video, that sucker is back. Now, the 14th video is called The Return. He raises his hands and he surrenders. He's smiling. There's something up his sleeve. Now, in the meantime, also on the scene, you'll find a black figure on the bottom of the screen. Is that Slenderman? We do not know. We find Bill Cipher in the other corner of the screen, just chilling in the woods. We also find on the top screen, we'll find Kirby, we'll find Pac-Man, we'll find lots of clowns walking. Like, there's way too many clowns for this. We find yet another purple guy. Honestly, there's more purple guys than Waldos in this series. Once again, no death has happened. Nobody is actually dying. It is a very peaceful scene, but clearly it's not over. Now, this was where I first started exploring the series. There was only 14 videos. While in the making of this video and writing all the stuff down, Lumpy released the 15th. Breaking news. There was a news segment with a woman talking excitedly about how Waldo has surrendered himself without any casualty, without any fight. He just gave himself up. The detective isn't having it. The detective is upset. So, thank you guys so much for coming in and sitting in to yet me another rambling about another topic that I found. This was really interesting. Like, I did not expect Waldo to have so much history about it, and I've been talking everybody's ear off about it when I was like playing the video. I'm like, did you know that this was actually not from that goes back 100 years? And they're like just like shut up. So, but overall, this was a very interesting video to make, and I know Lumpy has multiple series happening. So, if you guys are into something that's like, these pixel animations are insane. Like, they're so well done, they're so thorough, and I think this is so very well done, and I can't wait for the new installment. And you know damn well that I'm gonna make a new video when there's a new installment. I think I will leave you guys right here, at least till the next video. Wait, what's that over there? Psych! Hello. It is now end of September. The original video was filmed roughly end of August, beginning of September. And just a few days ago, Lumpy has released a 16th video. Remember how I said at the time of recording there were 15 videos? There's a 16th. So this video is a season finale, and it's much more of a storytelling episode, which helps us tie in all these things together, which when I watched it, I personally like my eyes on because of the realizations. And I think we were correct in some of these things, guys. I think we hit the nail on the head a couple of times, and I'll go more into details about it. So let's go through what the episode consists of. The first, we started with an action shot, good old action shot. Uppercut to the chin, you know, some good old strangling action. And this is the first time we actually see our protagonist. We see the detective. And that's where we're wrong. The detective is not another Waldo. You know, it was an outlandish idea. It was really out of left field, and we had very circumstantial evidence with which we could piece any sort of conclusion. But we'll talk about it later and how it ties into the whole marriage to Wenda Waldini. We see him take out 2 guards and use the scan card of the professor that we saw him talking to in the previous episode. So clearly something happened, whether he decided to partner up with the doctor anyway, or whether they didn't partner up and he just stole the doctor's card, or even whether he harmed the doctor in any way. But what it also says is that the doctor had the access to the prison. The doctor had the access to the place where Waldo was held, but he wanted to take Waldo down. So either this is the experimental institute where they put the Waldo, because that's what from what the doctor was talking earlier, or the doctor did have ulterior motives when speaking to the detective. He didn't want his genuine help and his genuine knowledge. He wanted the detective to also be essentially a test subject of sorts. Once again, I think that's pretty outlandish, but I think what more makes sense is that the doctor obtained the custody of the Waldo to make experiments and find out what it is like. What are they? Why do they have powers? How to control it? But that's something that we might need to wait for a second season if that comes out. So please, pretty please, I'm really invested in the story. Like, so Lumpy, if you're watching, you're probably not, but please. Do you remember when we talked about the who, what, when, where, and why Waldos? And how Waldo himself said there were 5 of us? We see Waldo walk over to the cell bars, and we get a shot of his back, which with big, bold letters says, who? Who is Waldo? That's the question. When he comes out of the shadow, we see that it's not Waldo at all. It's Outlaw. The character that I mentioned way back in the beginning of this episode. Waldo's arch nemesis, the exact opposite of him really, because Outlaw is just Waldo spelled backwards. His color scheme is completely off. It's black and yellow. It's not red and white. But however, red and yellow are not opposites. The opposite of yellow is blue, light blue for being specific. We take a pentagon and stick it on the color wheel, and we put red as one of the axes. What the color right beside it? will be yellow. Pentagon, 5 points, 5 Waldos, 5 questions. Now, this is really me just pulling and grasping at straws here, but I thought it was a very interesting parallel that they're not the opposite. They're quite close to each other. They're part of the Pentagon. Now the others are cyan, blue, and magenta, so now they're getting a little funky with them colors, the Waldos. All Luck Comes Close says, I'm not the Waldo that killed your wife, but I'll take you to them. In that scene. And that's the title card. Wow. That's an insane video. The graphics were insane. It felt like a real action movie that I got so invested and then it was just